Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 13 of the Future of Work show, where every week we discuss ideas that are of relevance to the future of organizations and people. As you can see, in today's episode, I have with me Ashish Vidyarthi, award winning actor and now motivational speaker and corporate trainer as well. And the topic we're going to discuss today is one that's going to become increasingly important for all of us. How do we keep reinventing ourselves and how do we build second and third careers? And those of you who've been following Ashish's career graph will know that he's someone who has always done multiple things. And many of those things may have now become part of his second, third career, and so on. So, welcome, Ashish, to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
An absolute pleasure, Shalini.
And I think
Kind
one of the wonderful things is how spontaneous your coming on today's show has been. So for those of us who are,
Yep.
yeah, for those of us who follow us, we often start promoting our shows many days in advance, and they tend to be, somewhat reasonably planned, probably a month or two in advance. And Ashish's show was planned this morning because it so happened that we had a conversation this morning, and we had been thinking of, doing a show on reinvention, second careers, because we know how important that's going to be. And Ashish has been recording back to back several movies, advertisements, and many other shows. And he had a window available today. So we got a little lucky. Thank you, Ashish, for giving us this time on a weekend that I know is actually a holiday for you.
An absolute pleasure.
So, Ashish, my very first question is if you can share a little bit of your own story. What is it that got you interested in doing more than one thing? And where did the early ideas for a second career or perhaps even a third career begin?
So Shalini, here is something, and something which a lot of things make sense or don't make sense in hindsight. And I'm a huge believer that each one of us is living forward. We are taking our calls. Um, so the term reinvention also, I think, is a term um, which people who look at us, they tell us about this person's reinvention. I speak about you and say, "Oh, so you have reinvented. You have done it." It's a bit like people commenting upon, Shalini, I just love that decision that you did. Wow, that was such a great call. And I don't know about you, but sometimes it strikes me, yeah, really, yeah, did I do something really? Did I think it through? So if we really see it that in life, so as an actor, very interesting thing is that by design, an actor seems spontaneous, all right? So we are spontaneous. But when we train ourselves, one of the things that we have to get is that we look at two simultaneous journeys. One is a journey of perception, which people perceive. So you create a character and then people perceive that character. Then is the internal journey of this human being who's trying to play that character. And there are many options that that person has, and then chooses various options, and therefore even each performance is different. Now let's just move it into life. If you just look at it, uh, you are not an actor, or the people who are watching it probably are not actors, but don't we see that we have two different lives simultaneously working? One is which is open for people. People have a certain say in it. People say, really appreciate it. Yeah, wow. What an achievement that you have done. Or, oh, you could have done better. All those things that people are saying. And then there is our personal journey, Shalini. Very personal journey. For me, that personal journey was very critical right in the beginning. I remember in Delhi years back in college, go to college. Um, I wanted to do quite a few things, but it is not supposed to be done. Okay, you're not supposed to do. You have to do things, and it has to fall into certain category. Now, years back, I discovered that I did not have it in me to become an engineer or a doctor, right? Which was the norm. I mean, if you were to be anything, you were that. Then I said that, yeah, so I'm an actor, all right? So again, it was like, it was a coming out moment when I could even tell people that, I want to be an actor. For the longest, I
Yeah.
used to tell people in Delhi that I wanted to join the merchant navy. Delhi, which is a dry river called Yamuna. People had no clue about merchant navy, so they had no clue. So they didn't have any. It seemed enough, and it seemed distant enough. Having said that, even at that point, I knew that I was not only an actor; I had many interests, but it was very difficult for me to articulate it. And funnily, hanging from a DTC bus, Delhi Transport Corporation bus in Delhi, going over the Lakshmi Nagar, the Trans Yamuna Bridge, I saw the hoarding of Tata Steel, and
Mhm.
it said, "We also make steel."
I remember that ad campaign.
Yeah, and suddenly something happened for me. I said, "This is a company which is Tata Steel, and it says we also make steel." And somehow for me, I got means I will not say that I consciously got, but it something moved in me, and I said, "Hey, it is possible to do also." To have an also. You need not be a unifaceted successful human being. There could be many aspects too. And there I also saw my father, who was multifaceted. He started off being a student of Sanskrit, pre-independence, then became a freedom fighter. Before that, he became a sadhu, and then he joined the Sangeet Natak Academy. So he was multifaceted, and I could see जिसको हिंदी में हम लोग कहते हैं आयाम.
Mhm.
There were aspects to him which made him an interesting person. So for me, right at the beginning, I saw the possibility of also, but did not know how to. And I think that is also something which has played a role in my life, and it continues to. I first look at a possibility, and I need not know how to. But if that possibility is inspiring enough, then I hunt for people, I hunt for aspects, I hunt for opportunities to fulfill that. So so that's how I began. So I definitely knew that in this movement I have to get more out of me.
Mhm.
Uh, Within me there was a restless me which hated to be defined, which is also why my hair is this particular way. Through my life, my mother was the only child of a Bengali mother. She used to hold me like this and comb me. So once I grow up, no, I will never comb my hair. So, I used to keep my hair all tousled. But now I kind of do it because I've got receding hairline, and I can people can see the scalp, so I just put it like that. But having said it, I do not like the defined bit. And if you notice over the years that our interactions, what I find very interesting is that how you so beautifully define things, and I love the definition, and then when I push it, I see you again creating some amazing things out of that. So for me, that tussle between definition and the undefined, and the nebulous, that makes life interesting. So therefore I believe in having a method to the madness. So when I interact with you, all the times that I have explored collaborating with you, you bring an extraordinary level of method, extraordinary level of method. And over a period of time, that's something again which I want to mention, that as an actor one also appreciates the need for a method. Okay, but it has to be have that bit of madness. uh, and once that is there, then you're not bound by what they say should be there, what they say are the parameters.
So, Ashish, if I understand what you're saying, you always had this idea of yourself as being, this multifaceted being. Let's not say actor or, a particular a profession, but a multifaceted being who wanted to express many parts of yourself through, your work career and perhaps otherwise as well. But you know that for most of us in our upbringing and the way we interact with society, and that starts pretty much from school. One of the earliest questions people get asked is, okay, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? Like, I think even someone in like sixth grade is probably asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? So there is this sort of you know encouragement, if you like, and sometimes it can be more than encouragement as well, to sort of pick a label fairly early on, and then sort of there's almost this unarticulated belief that there are these different roads or paths out there, and some people even say, please tell him which path is better, and you get on that road and you sort of just continue down that road. And that's a very strong belief system in our world, the way we live. For many people who have lived by those principles and have started off on a particular career path, say sometime in their 20s, and now somewhere down the road, whether it's in their 20s, 30s, 40s, or beyond, are thinking about something else, a second career. What would you say should be a starting point? How does one even begin a journey like that when all of you has been defined by one or two labels till then?
So, and it's a good one. So let's just see. It's difficult to start a new one, right? I agree with you.
Mm.
But how about realizing that you already are on that journey? Um, Shalini, anyone who's here who are listening into this, you can have a look at your life. Whatever you have studied, are you doing exactly what you study? Because if so, then everybody who has studied the course, the program, the degree that you've gotten is doing the same thing that you're doing. So, first of all, let's admit it that we have not walked the only path. Because had there been the only path, then everybody who's in your batch, I should know. Shalini, you are there. Okay, got it. So, all your batchmates are here, right? So, let's first of all admit, in fact, confess, in fact, celebrate the fact that we have not followed that one path. For too long, we have hypnotized ourselves into believing that we have followed a path. We follow a definition. None of us has followed any definition. See, each one of us, I truly believe, has been a trailblazer who refuses to admit to it. Let's look at your career, Shalini, and
Oh, I'm under the scan.
just look at your background, and there are no two people who have walked the path that you have walked. Anyone, Vishnu Kale, Pramod Das, Narendra Shukla, anyone who's listening in, none of you have walked the path which somebody else has walked. So first of all, get that we do not have the path. There is not the path. Once you get it, that's all that you have to keep rolling. The other thing is, what is the definition that we want to live in? Somehow, definition is not just one which is given by others to us, it is also which is something which we feel safe in.
Mm.
All right. Like you feel safe in. Yeah, I'm safe in this definition. The point of the matter is that you and I know that the world isn't safe. The world never told us that it's safe. The world even didn't tell us it's dangerous. World just said that it is. Life just said it is. Life just throws things at us. We call it dangerous or not. We had dangerous times even before COVID, and then look what danger came in. Okay, so we kind of keep discussing, oh, what danger? As if before this there were no danger. So let us admit it that our plan B, plan C, plan D, which we are saying are possible different careers, all right, consider already you have made choices and you have reached where you have reached. The invite now is very interesting, is that one is asking these brave souls to really get that you have not arrived. See, once you're arrived, when you're formed, I'm formed, I'm arrived. Now there's a problem. On the other hand, if I'm traveling, if I'm still arriving, I'm forming, then it's a present continuous. So if we can start looking at ourselves as present continuous, And one of the reasons, so also let's look at the other part of it. Why do we want us to be arrived or formed or achieved? Is because we want to sit on our past laurels. We want to quote people about the stuff that we have done. In an arriving game, in a moving game, in a living life, there are no past laurels. They are done with. What next is what you're looking at. So if you and I are ready to take responsibility, because in any case, see, I'll share something. Let's again look at a gossip that we are in. We seem to think that our past, whatever that we did in the past is actually holding true. No, people are tolerating us if we are just thinking and talking of our past. Our ability to use that expertise that we may have garnered over the years and to modify it and to apply it in the present context is what is making us relevant. So imagine we are completely untethered from the past. So if we are untethered from the past, Chalini, we all have a amazing possibility to create what inspires you. All right. So imagine if you do not even want to look at it as an alternative career. Imagine, how I like love to frame that sentence. All of us wants to grow. All of us want to grow, want to earn money, want to do some well for ourselves. Now, the only way we can grow is when we add value to others. That's why they pay us, right? They don't pay us for charity. No free lunches in the world. So why do they pay us? They pay us if they get added value. When we can add value to them, they pay us. Now, all that we need to do, each one of us, is to find ways to add value to them. Now, these people are changing their needs. Their needs are changing. No, no, I don't want this. I now want this. Now, we have to look at our repository of qualities, and see what is the new match I can bring for them. Therefore, it's a continuous living life. So I am ongoingly creating myself, and I'm creating myself so as to be relevant, to be of value. Why? Because I'm very clear. My life is longer than this career.
But Ashish, I mean, by the way, I don't disagree with what you're saying.
Sure.
But don't you think it's really challenging for people who have, they've gone down a certain road, they've developed a
Mm,
certain set of skills, and, maybe even a network in a certain world,
sure.
a presence, a reputation, a history, which gives them credibility on a particular path.
Yeah.
Now, if they're thinking of, you know, experimenting with a path that is somewhat different, uh, for people like them, and that's going to be all of us actually many times over the next
All of
few
us.
years,
Absolutely.
uh,
Absolutely.
what's a good starting point? If we don't have a clue about whether a path that sort of catches our fancy is really one for us, or whether that's,
Yeah.
a thought that felt good for a week or even a month or maybe even a year, but isn't really what we think it's going to turn out to be.
Maybe the devil's advocate to this.
Yeah.
Why do you want to change? I ask you, why do you want to change? Have you ever, in the midst of a very successful thing, it's going really great, you not change? You feel that when it lasts, that's when you wish to change. Are you getting what I'm saying? If it's working, please don't tweak it. But if you keep the vision slightly ahead, is okay, it's working right now, but somewhere a little way ahead, this may not work. That's when we want to change. Now, please understand why I'm talking about this. That if you have a strong enough belief that you want to stay relevant, if you have a strong enough belief that I better be employable, that is reason enough. So I'll share a little joke. So actors, they have this thing called, what's my motivation to pick up this mobile phone? So the director will say, look, your motivation is that you're talking to this person and you're waiting for a call, and then at one point just check the message. That's your motivation. So actor says, okay, got it. So it is said that there's this actor, kept asking the director, oh, so what's my motivation for this? And what's my motivation for this? And what's my motivation for this? Finally, the director got cheesed off. And he said, your motivation is your paycheck. Now do it. All right. Now, for me, that's a very meaningful story. You have to be very straight with yourself. I call it put your finger in your eye. Each one of us, if we have to create something of value ongoingly, please understand all those existing networks, all the history, all the all the niceties that we have already earned are of no use. Nobody cares for it. So what do you want to hang on to? You're hanging on to certain things which has no use in the future. So see, as an actor, one of the things that something which attracts me, why I find creativity something very useful. Creativity is only what you create at this moment. All your past victories are your ego trips. So if we can just change it and really get that, what is the point of hanging on to that? That is when, if I can leave that I'm holding on, then this is easy. Because
You know,
even if you hang on to it, is that I find it very difficult to leave. I got it. Hang on to it. Be my guest. But somebody else has left it and is taking on you. So my question here is that we somehow sabotage ourselves by saying that the new is difficult. I want us to really get that holding on to the past is making my today and tomorrow very difficult. So let us make it easy. Let us dance. See, for me, let's get real. Okay, I'll give you some real examples. As an actor, as I started working in Hindi films, all right, it required a new set of qualities that I brought forth because I was only trained in theater, remember? So I had to train myself to be a Hindi film actor, okay? And then in the business of commercial mainstream cinema. So, you have to learn some things which you'd never learned before. A few years later, as I said, that the kind of work that I was getting in Hindi was not fulfilling me. It was, in fact, I was experiencing being throttled. That pushed me into discovering, going into new arenas, which happened to be working down south. And that's when I started working in 11 languages, in total. So over these 26 years, I've done 230 plus films in 11 languages. But each one of them has been born out of my urge, because nothing is happening here. Something's not happening as good as I want. So that I allow that to
mm,
push me into the next place. Now I have to check with myself. Am I okay with this upset? Because if I'm okay with this upset, please be here, sit here and complain. But
mm,
since I'm not, I will power my way out and create something afresh. And therefore, 6 years back, as I discovered also the possibility of me interacting and creating, and
mm.
trust me, Shalini, I mean, and you've been witness to that. I've learned such a lot from people like you, because you people are experts in a subject which I've been completely a novice in. And this entire period has been a period of learning and delivering, learning and delivering, learning and delivering. And if you're ready, if each one of us is ready to learn, and imagine this, to our experience, when we can add that that beautiful ability to learn, I promise you that new is not as dangerous as it seems. Making new friends, making new connects, having putting out new versions of yourself to the world. First to yourself and then to the world. I promise you one thing, this entire world is open to new. It is just that you'll have to get over your fear. Because I
It
promise
does,
you, the fixed is also fearful.
and I think that's a big deal, right? Like, it takes a lot of courage to reinvent, because as you're letting go of something that may not be working but is certainly familiar,
Yeah.
and unless you're terrible at it and it's a complete end of the road,
Mm.
there are probably some things within that old path that are working. And it takes a lot of courage to let go of, as you said, an old path and jump onto a new, when there are no guarantees there either. So I'm reminded of something you said a little while ago about how, uh, in your own expression of your career, you thought of it as multiples. So before things became a career, they were projects. Do you want to speak a little bit about how projects can help people, experiment with alternative paths, that before they're ready to let go and jump into something
Yeah.
else?
So So that's something which I'm working on. In fact, that's going to be my next workshop, which is going to be coming in next month. It's the project report. So here is
Okay.
something. I like small steps. I love to eat, but the best way to eat a large burger is to somehow to break it down into small bits. All right. So now just imagine. Look, there's a way the world is looking at you, and there's a way that you are looking at things. So at this point, I want you to start looking at things from where you are. So all of us who are here, Harsha, Vasudev, Subir, everybody, just look at it from where you are. So from where you are picking on something which you wish to do, irrespective of what they think that you have done, can do, can't do. Irrespective of that, there's something that you pick on. Okay, now I want to do this. Now for you, this is a project. This is a project. So there are certain things that you know about it, certain things that you don't know about it. What you don't know, you either learn or you ask, you learn to work with, etc., etc. Okay, there are aspects to it. We go into that in detail later. But if you have picked up a project, you are giving your 100% to make that project a success. Now, there are certain aspects to that project. Even as you enter the project occurs in a particular way. And Shalini, as we get into the project, that project
Takes
kind
its
of
own
it
life.
becomes headed. Okay, it has many aspects. Now you are moving into it. Now you are irrespective of what the world is. The world is only going to see us as a finished product, Talini. But we know that the amount of work which goes on backstage, right? What we are in preparation. So a project for me is what each one of us starts anything with. It becomes successful and then repeatedly successful. People say, wow, that was a reincarnation. But you know it as a secret. For you, it has just been one project after the other, and each one has its uniqueness. Each one you cannot sleepwalk through. So that is very there's the other part which I wanted to mention in the other part, that all the things that we get comfortable with in our mind, we feel that we can sleepwalk through this. Alarm. If you are willing to sleepwalk through something, alarm, you're not pushing, you're not even challenging yourself, you're deadening certain muscles of yours.
Yeah.
And if you're yeah so therefore for me, the projects, if you pick up projects, different projects in your life, don't be defined by what they say you can do, don't even be defined what you think you can do, but be inspired by something that you wish to do. Pick it up as a project. Say, no, it's not my profession, no, my main profession is this, but I want to pick this up as a project.
Yeah.
Who knows what will work out. So for me also, even as I was acting in films down south a whole lot right up till 2000, about till 6 years back, I picked up speaking to organizations as a project. There was just one thing, somebody called me once, and I said, if I've gotten this opportunity, let me do it deeper. Let me do
Hmm.
it deeper. Let me do it deeper. And in that deeper bit, at some point, suddenly this came up as a larger possibility. All right. So it all begins like a project. So don't get pressurized. Don't pressurize yourself that I'm reinventing. You're not reinventing. Even if somebody says, Ashi, did you reinvent? I say, oh, really? Did I? I don't know, but I do. What next? What next is interesting. So,
And, and I think that's
yeah,
quite helpful, Ashish, because
yeah,
I think, see, I mean, obviously, people like you who've had always been aware of their multiple facets and always been aware of their desire to express them, have always existed through history, but there have been few. uh, Far more people have thought of themselves in a particular frame as, that is their path and they're going to express themselves, and then for them, and that's most of us, to let go of that and try something which sounds risky is not particularly easy. You might find it quite interesting that some of the career researchers, and particularly those who research how adults or people who've had have gone down a particular career path, have made successful career transitions, find that to be able to get over that fear, as well as to test the waters and see whether that's something that they really are going to be interested in for a longer period of time or just at a point in time. It's exactly what you said. try it out as projects, do it in pieces, and sort of see where it goes and how you feel at the end of it. Does it really excite you, energize you, or sometimes something looks different on the outside and turns out to be very different on the inside. We've all been there, and then we may realize that okay, it wasn't this one, but that taught us something that'll help us in our next search.
Project. Next project.
Next project. Yes, I see
Exactly,
there's
because
so many
life is
comments.
just one project after the other, Shalini, and if we really get uh, that we are not expired till we expire,
Yeah,
until that day, you know, don't limit, don't limit yourself. Let them call it. See, people sometimes word it in a difficult way. They make it feel a big deal. So if you can keep it light, then you can stay bright. Because if imagine now, just imagine. I'll give an example in this. One of the interesting things about treating things like a project is you are responsible for it, but you're also okay if with it failing.
mm, yeah,
So it's not say, look, if I take it on, I win. Really, really. How about saying that, I'm excited, I take this thing on. I'll be responsible for this. If it doesn't work, I will continue. For me as an actor, you know, countless films, so many films have worked, so many films didn't. After each film that didn't work, what did I do next? Again, get back to work. After the next film that worked, what did I do after that? Get back to work again. So if one
mm,
looks at oneself as a professional who's not going to give up if a project is highly successful or if a project is unsuccessful, then it is just another day at work. As long as we remember that we are nuts and bolts people, we are professionals who are wanting to do interesting things one after the other. Some of them may work, some of them may not work, but those will not define. What will define us is our ability to go on doing things that inspire, and then one day say, you know what, I actually want to do kayaking in Scandinavia. Have you done it before? No,
mhm.
I haven't. That ability. Can you surprise yourself? I mean, that I'm a
Yeah,
big believer, Shalini, in my ability to surprise myself. So I do not perform for others. And if any one of us gets that our life is not in service, it may sound very odd. It
yeah.
is not so that people give us all this. It is basically for us. And
Yeah,
then if people say, "Oh, fantastic, we have a great thing going."
yeah. No, I can completely understand that. And, that is, in a sense, some of the challenge which many of us face that uh, something seems exciting. And of course, there is the uncertainty, but there's also the awkwardness. So when you're doing anything, like if you do go Scandinavian kayaking for the very first time, it's I'm assuming it's going to be a little bit awkward while you're sort of figuring out the process, et cetera, et cetera. And that space of awkwardness is obviously one which none of us like to stay in very long. So that's really where the challenge sometimes comes.
What you said is something very interesting. Huh? If I may just carry on something. Awkwardness, another word for that is I feel very vulnerable in that place.
Yeah, exactly,
Right?
exactly.
And this is something which I'm working on, Charlie. I would love to just share that as a thought
Yeah,
here. Do you know the only thing which is not static in us? You know, you're good at many things, Shalini, and you can mention that. I can good in anything, I can mention that. And then as I go deeper, as you go deeper, we'll say, and that area, Ashish, that I'm very uncomfortable with. Okay, when
yeah,
we go deeper enough for us. And has it ever occurred to you, Shalini, that is the only moving piece. The vulnerable is the place from
yes,
where from where the new develops.
yes, absolutely,
Your
absolutely.
your and my new your and my unique shows up in our vulnerable. And therefore, for me, even as an actor, even as a person who engages in conversations with organizations and coaches people, the one thing which I keep sharing with people is that just imagine if you can be someone who's not afraid of your vulnerability. if you can see it as the source of your next level, because you're static has long become your ego. Of course, I'm good at this. Of course, I know I'm good at it. No, I've become that. But that vulnerable, I'm not too sure, Shalini, if I can do it. And therefore, that is where I work. And what excites me in life is is when I'm able to express my vulnerability to myself and to others. And I
Do you,
promise you, my growth has been in the areas where I have experienced vulnerability.
can I ask you, Ashish, do you think it gets easier if one does it often enough? You know, being in your area of vulnerability, awkwardness, way outside your comfort zone, do you think it gets easier as one does it often?
So there is something which happens before that, if I may share that.
Mm.
So it never becomes easier. Okay, it's that's why you're vulnerable.
Mm.
Okay, but one exercise which I love doing at such places, that what happens to you if you fail? What happens if you fall at the airport? Remember, we used to go to the airport some months back, and some of us have slipped there. And what happens when we slip? We look around. Who saw? Who saw? And if somebody has seen it, and you come to you and says, "Are you hurt?"
Yeah.
And you say, "No, no, 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 it's okay, quickly, fine, fine, fine. Nothing's happened. Nothing has happened. I usually limp, right?" Just note, just get, if you can be okay with a slip, there's nothing to fear in this world.
Very well said. That's very well said because I think that is really at the heart of
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And as an actor, you see, when I do these workshops, when I take people, corporates, through that experience, and one of the things that we allow people to get is, what is the secret that you're keeping away from someone who already knows it? We all know, we all know each other's secrets. We all know what is the shortcoming of the other person. What are you hiding? And I have discovered, when you can actually not be worried about hiding what you don't know, the entire world is available to you. Because we put a lot of effort in hiding the stuff, which in any case, so you see, Shalini, you know about my shortcomings, right? You have had enough interactions. You know all my shortcomings. You know what? You've never used it against me. You never. You don't have time for that yet. You got too much work to do. So just imagine, what are we trying to hide from the world? But those shortcomings of mine, they are the area in which I grow the fastest, because I look at them as my shortcomings. So I'm going to work harder. So as we look at new careers and new avenues, look at your vulnerabilities, because they are pointing you towards something which otherwise you may not go towards. And
Right.
therefore, you become fearless. When you become fearless, in any way you are weak in that. So might as well get fearless and discover something new.
That makes a lot of sense, Ashish. I'm going to take some comments.
Please.
Kapil says, "Yay, Ashish." Ashish Lal says, "Welcome, Ashish sir." Pavan says, "Hello, sir. How are you?" Uh, Ashish sir has been an inspiration. Nice to see a multi-talented personality. Pavan says, "I'm a big fan of your acting. You're multi-talented." Kapil says it was your eureka moment. Yuvraj, hi Yuvraj. Nice to see this conversation. Rishikesh says, "Thank you, Ashish, for outstanding words." Vishnu, always nice to see such kind of personality. Uh, Eagles can't swim. Can we excel in all aspects areas that we attempt being a multifaceted person? Do you want to take this?
Okay, can we take that question? That's an interesting one.
It's a good one, yeah. Do you want to take
Yeah.
that?
So we are, so a thing which is to be very clear for each one of us. I'm very clear about it.
Yeah.
I'm an ordinary person committed to extraordinary possibilities. So if we really get that, my commitment is to excel, and in quite a few of the things that I go into, I may not, but I have always the possibility to. So life doesn't belong to people who get it right the first time. Please don't try to get it right. make it right. And I don't want it to be it's make it sound very as corny as it sounds. But seriously, none of us knows what is the right decision. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And I'm going to add this here that sometimes we don't really know what we are capable of. So,
Exactly.
let me just say, Ashish, you and I decided to apply for our LinkedIn Live at the same time, maybe a
Yeah,
year.
remember? In fact,
And
you told
I
me about this
I
first.
told you
Yes, I
about
didn't
it,
know it.
right? It was
Yes.
like July or August last year. And
Yeah.
after I got access, which was pretty much soon after, I actually hesitated for almost a year because I felt,
Mm,
okay, Ashish is comfortable being on camera. I'm absolutely not. Why? I mean, what am I even going to do with the LinkedIn Live?
mm.
But you never know, right? So, to the question, yes, they might maybe there's some things you absolutely can't do and that's fine too, but maybe there's some things which you don't know you can do, but later on you realize that okay, that was actually fun.
We never could go to the space till we did.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a discovery process.
Yeah.
Narendra says thank you, very thoughtful and inspiring talk, thank you. Shraman says candid and passive. Hi Shraman. Vinity, present continuous. It was really nice. That was a good way to look at it. Medha, inspiring and fascinating. Hi, Medha. Uh, Vasudha, create what inspires you. I think that was a good quote. Mukul
There's
says,
another very interesting part to this, Shani. Uh,
hmm,
create what inspires and look around. There are people who want it.
hmm,
Okay,
yeah,
it's that, especially when you're in a corporate field, when you're a professional, um, you probably don't have the luxury of just creating something just for the heck of it. All right, look around. There are people that there's the world is needing something. Okay, pick some of those things and say, hey, listen, I think I can rearrange something in me to create that. So that's the game. The game is to create. In fact, the project workshop that I'm creating is on those lines. That how does one create projects in our life ongoingly?
hmm,
So it's not like so at the end of my life I want to. If you can relate to projects as steps in your life,
yeah,
and you are willing to take some steps which may seem slightly off, because
yeah.
who knows? Because I personally believe, in the same context, that my ability to maneuver myself in life is given by projects. Imagine, Shalini, I only want to do one thing. That's the only thing I want to do. Now
Hmm,
I am just waiting for that moment, or that is the only raison
hmm.
d'etre of my life. Imagine during that, if we are taking some steps in between, then so many things open up for you. All right, new
And,
possibilities open up.
and you spoke about that, Ashish, and maybe you want to say some more about the importance of serendipity in your life.
Yeah, yeah, and so it's just it's your ability to be open to
Hmm.
scenarios. Yuvraj is here. I'll share something very interesting. A year and a half back, yeah, more than a year and a half back, Yuvraj and I was doing two events for Make My Trip in Goa Vivo, and we did one at the Make My Trip office, and then we were driving to another place. And en route, I was traveling with him, and me being me, I asked him, Yuvraj, what do you see? What do you think could be possible? And it's so funny. He stated a few things, and if you look at whole lot of the stuff that we are doing at Avid Miner, is inside of what he just shared that day. All right, and I sat with it. I said, okay, interesting, interesting. It was a whole new way. There are certain things I was resisting. So he just, as an outsider, just dropped some things into me. Now, Yuvraj has been one of these people. I've had the privilege, and you are one of them, Shalini. My dear friend Abhijit Bhadur is one person. My friend Emmanuel David is one person. These people have just given me random thoughts which allow me to see things. And serendipity is in seeing it, my friend.
Hmm.
It's not in it happening, it's
Yeah.
in you seeing it. So, magic, I am clear, is happening all the time around us.
Hmm.
If we can just be mindful of it, if we
Open,
can
as
if
you
we can
said.
say that this conversation today has happened inside of a early morning drive of me giving you a call, because in last time you called me, I we could not manage, and I say, hey, can we try this? Obviously, I know that you do it well in advance, but just in a matter of 3 hours,
Yeah.
we are here, all right, and we
Yeah.
have done it. Now, imagine life doesn't happen in packages we are imagining it to be.
Mm.
Life is happening as it is rolling. And can we take those things while traveling? Can we take a tip from someone there? My son who's is 19 and he's studying in Berkeley, he will just tell me something. I'll say, oh, got it, interesting. Something interesting. Anybody can give you anything interesting. And for me,
Yeah.
if you're open to it, if you're open to say, okay, that eureka moment happens. Eureka, you don't have to wait for the Messiah to come and give you the eureka moment.
It's
Eureka
the
moment is
small.
happening around us,
Mm.
yes. If you're open to it.
Very nice. I like what you said that there are if you're in a state of openness,
Yeah,
you can see the possibilities within maybe every or at
yeah,
least many interactions.
yeah.
And if
And
you're
something
not open,
else
you
may
don't
come out
see.
of it. Something else may come out of it. Not the
Yeah,
same thing.
not the
Something
same
else.
thing.
Yeah,
Something
yeah, yeah.
ideas marry ideas and create new ones.
Love that.
Sort of.
Hybrids. Allow
Yeah.
ideas to create hybrids of an idea of somebody gave you. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Then we have Prag, who says, thanks, Ashish sir. And I would like to ask about the challenge which all of us face while crafting our path for a successful journey. How to manage mindset and influence of others in my journey of continuity and keep defining, because this many times creates hindrance and thus pushing. I guess what Parag is asking is that how do we go down a path if the messages we're getting from everywhere else are maybe encouraging us to go somewhere else?
Not so encouraging, yes.
Yeah.
So first admit it that only you are responsible for your call. All right. Uh, you may go on. Look, I did not do it because somebody else has stopped it. Who cares? I give that example of I give the example of who thought of the telephone, Alexander Graham Bell. Yeah, you know that, right? Great, congratulations. Do you also know that his mother-in-law used to beat him and he had arthritis? You did not. You don't care actually. You just want your phone to work. Except, also, I'm letting you. I don't know whether his mother-in-law used to beat him and he had arthritis. But it's irrelevant. What matters is that he thought of something and created something called the telephone. So in life, remember, if you want to hold the world at ransom and wait for the world to come around to agree with you, please wait. I don't have time for you. No one has the time for you. Even you don't have time for yourself. On the other hand, please get it. If
Mhm.
something that you believe in, first get it for yourself and get that it is my responsibility to be a proponent of that to the world. You have got to sell that story. And trust me, as you sell that story, you will say, hey, listen, you must get it. Yeah. Others are saying, "Arey, yeah, did you get that? Did you see that? You must." How? It has to begin with someone's belief. All right. So in this case, the horse comes before the cart. All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The chicken comes before the egg. You have to believe in it and then
It's a
lay the
tough
egg.
one though. It's a tough one though, Parag. I understand where you're coming from, because I
Yeah.
think when we are growing up, we are, uh, I mean, most of us are just waiting for some significant people in our lives, be it parents earlier on, be it other people later,
Can I
to
be
sort of
honest on this,
tell us,
Shalini? Yeah.
you
See,
know,
I'll be honest on this. I talk of how life occurs. I do not go into how it should.
yeah,
See, as you said, that if I am waiting for someone's acceptance, it is a tough one.
yeah, I
How about
agree with
me
you.
getting that I'm responsible? If I am responsible, so also be responsible. People will say, I told you, right? Didn't I tell you? And look, it didn't work. Have the guts to handle that. Because see, our mindset makes it difficult for us. Please get, only you are going to be responsible for if you are a failure. All right. So don't think that if you are a failure, then everybody else who stood by you say, come on, go for it, Ashish. They will stand with you if you fail. No, you're going to bear the responsibility. If you take loan from the bank, you will have to pay for it. So once you get it, now after that, it is now my onus. Means I love Jean-Paul Sartre's line when he says that the modern man is condemned to be free. You cannot. The modern man can't say, "No, Dadaji told
Yeah.
me, therefore I did it." There is no Dadaji, my friend. You are leaving this job. You are wanting to take that job. Good for you, but you be responsible for it. You are saying that this boss is not good. That boss is better. I don't like this project. This could have been better. Your problem. You are sticking your neck out doing it. Congratulations, you will again be responsible if you're successful or failure. So for me, life is one large maneuvering thing, my friend. you know Life is maneuvering. If you get that, this is a nano part of my life where I either succeed or fail. It's going to be followed by another nano part where I again succeed or fail. So don't pressurize yourself by these nano parts. Look at the larger picture.
Can I
Have the
add one?
ability and guts.
Ashish, it's not just about success or failure, though,
Yeah,
right? It's also about whether you feel this was what worked for you. I mean, I don't know how to define worked for you, except we
yeah,
know when something's working for us or not. It's not
yeah.
necessarily just about, success or lack of it in a certain way. It's about we did this, we may have even been good at it, but did we feel that this was what we were sort of did we feel good, did we feel energized, did we feel happy? Or you can absolutely be successful in something and be very good at it without that feeling. I mean, if you are smart and hardworking, you can be successful in many different ways, but that doesn't mean that they necessarily fulfill you.
And I think that's a very valid point that you have brought out, Shalini. And if I can just look at it at this very moment,
Yeah.
if I can look at it, that at that point in Hindi films when I said that I want to do films down south, I was very successful. I was doing very well, but I was
Yeah.
experiencing non-fulfillment.
Hmm.
All right. So
Yeah.
when the writings on the wall, there's a difference between the writing on the wall which others are seeing and what
Yeah.
you are seeing. So I completely am there with you that my game and your game is actually striving for that self-fulfillment.
Yeah.
And for that, there may not be people who get what you're doing. They'll say, but why? But that's your personal journey. And there again, we come down to you're not doing it for the audience. For the audience, there is a bank balance or a level, and they will cheer you or jeer you. But again, comes back to your singular internal journey, what you're doing for yourself.
Hmm.
And there will be a manifestation of that for the outside world. So
Very well said.
somebody will call you,
Yeah.
whatever. But it's that mix, having that method to your
Yeah.
madness. So, do some things for your fulfillment and do some things which allow you to pay your bills.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In fact, if I may say, there's a book called Designing Your Life. For anyone who's interested, it's a great book. Our very first speaker on this LinkedIn Live was Professor Ramya Ranganathan, who teaches a course on this as well, on how do you, in a sense, become sensitive to whether something you do energizes you, excites you. And if you can figure that piece out of what is it in the hundreds of things you could be doing, what are those activities or what are those situations where you feel most alive in yourself, then you can use that understanding to craft a career around that. And that's not something which is often spoken about, right? When people say, what do you want to be when you grow up? The question is never asked that, what brings you to life? Like, that's like an irrelevant, silly question in many people's minds. But that part of knowing what makes you feel your most alive and energized self is a really interesting way of maybe creating or crafting a life around those very moments. And that would be a career which for you.
I want to just put it. Isn't it also true that what fulfills you changes as you go through
Yeah,
life?
absolutely. You change. You change. And I mean, I think the reason why actually, Ashish, I wanted you to come on this show and speak about reinvention is because over the next, few decades, we're going to see so much change in the external environment that people will have to reinvent themselves and search for second, third careers. And some of it will be multiple careers parallelly, like you have, right? Yeah, simultaneously, the portfolio career.
I'm working in a
Correct.
film, a Tamil film, and speaking to organizing and do
Yeah.
what I do that. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So
This is
some
the multifaceted each one of us.
Right. So for some, it's going to be a portfolio career. For some, it's going to be a
Beautiful.
sequence of multiple careers. But for us to be able to figure out, what does it take
Mhm.
to do that? And I'm going
Yeah.
to summarize the big ideas I'm taking from our conversation, Ashish, and please add to them, others which I might miss. I mean, the first one is the fact that I like when you said, listen, in the end, you are the only one responsible because it's your life. And I know I completely, by the way, this is me personally saying, not what Ashi said. I completely sympathize with our need to look at significant people in our life to say, listen, you're doing okay and you're on the right path. But that can often just as well get us stuck. So we need to understand that, at the end, it is our choice. So being in a sense, I know it's a cliche, everyone speaks about being in the driver's seat, but truly to be in the driver's seat and accept that is not so simple. So that's like right at the start. The second part is, what you said about when something seems interesting, start off as projects. It doesn't have to be a career just as yet. You started off as projects. It gives you a sense of whether something is for you, something is not. I like what you said, by the way, about the courage to let go when something is working well, because the moment you stay in that place, it becomes a product of the past, and you become a product of the past, and comes in the way of your own growth. And just understanding that it's a big deal. Of course, doing it is never simple, but understanding that's a big deal. I love many of these things that you spoke about how when you're doing well in something, it feels great because you sort of feel like you've arrived and everyone is complimenting you, and there's a little bit of it feels great. You use the word ego, but whatever word you might use, it feels great. But at the same time, you also know that even if you're really successful at a particular point in time, tomorrow is another game. Yeah, it's a point in time. So tomorrow is another day, and even if you were the biggest star, for instance, in the industry at a particular point in time, tomorrow will be different, and there will be a new tomorrow, and there will be a new ask. So, it is something that we all are going to have to learn to do better and better through our careers. You want to add, Ashi, something I may have missed?
No, I mean, you have summarized as usual. So one of the things that I love about you, Shalini, is are the questions that how you even ask questions. They are really incisive. But that's what I wrote even in my post, and I was privy to it. So thank you. You kind of allow me to look into aspects which I didn't. So one part which I think is very critical for us to get is, and I'm re-emphasizing it, do it for yourself. Really, if you really want to buy something, do it for yourself. Okay, you really want to achieve something, do it for yourself. Because when you're doing it for yourself, you're not feeling sorry for yourself. See, typically we end up feeling very sorry for ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay, and feeling sorry for yourself is the weakest thing that you can do for yourself. And people also will say, and that person was saying that life was unfair to you. Come on, all that. So for me, as you reinvent, as you're going into projects, do it for yourself. So you are responsible for it. Be open to ask questions, be open to change course. You and I are evolving. I am continually evolving, so are you. And my interests evolve. What I want to do today evolves, from morning till night, something changes. Allow yourself to be mercurial. Don't relate to yourself as static and fixed. Then it won't matter what people will want you to think as. Okay, be a flow, be a person in a flow. Allow people to say, oh really, like I love it when people say, oh, so you also do this, oh so you also like this. So have an interest in arts and math. For example, I have interest in arts and math. Both I do not understand much, but I'm inquisitive about. All right, just to give you a sense of it. So when I sit with my son, and when he's on his laptop and he talks mathematics and I cannot understand mathematics, I just love the capacity that mathematics gives for people to unravel things. Now, I do not know it, but just allows me the capacity to unravel things. Now I start thinking. So allow different ideologies, different thoughts to illuminate you. You are in service of yourself. And Shalini, when we are in service of ourselves, then we cannot be sorry for ourselves. If we have made mistakes, I'm responsible for it. If we have gone successful, congratulations. What next? All right. So what next is a part of this entire thing. So
Thank you, Ashish. Thank you so much. I realize we're at the end of our time. Let me tell you something about Ashish that I've really liked right from the start. It's really amazing how much he comes with a beginner's mind to everything he does. And I know that this beginner's mind is such an important part of why he's able to do so many things which seem to belong to very different worlds so successfully. So that's something, Ashish, which I always remember about, our interaction, your complete beginner's mind, your curiosity, your desire to learn, and that's pretty inspiring. So thank you.
thank you for uh, thank you for inviting me over, and appreciate it.
Thank you. My pleasure. So, with that, we come to the end of our conversation today. I hope you found it interesting and found many takeaways for your own journey. I'm certainly taking many for mine. For all those who are interested in watching the replay, it will be available on my LinkedIn profile right after our conversation. And by Monday, it will be available on Uncube's website. Do visit Uncube's website for all our past conversations. And if you like today's conversation, give us a thumbs up, share it on your profile. And with that, have a wonderful weekend. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.